Eating Animals, an examination of our dietary choices and the food we put in our bodies, based on Jonathan Safran Foer's memoir. Key point 1. Grandmother's chicken and author's vegetarianism. The author's connection to food finds its roots in family dynamics, notably through the culinary influence of his grandmother. The singular dish she prepared, chicken with carrots, earned her the admiration of young Jonathan and his brother Frank, deeming her the greatest chef in their world. Having survived World War II, the grandmother's perspective on food diverged significantly from contemporary norms. To her, unhealthy products were inconceivable, and she held the belief that plumper children equated to better health, even advocating for the consumption of Coca-Cola. For her, food embodied elements of fear, religious significance, and love. Individual perceptions of food are shaped by past experiences and circumstances. Some view food with reverence, while others discard it without remorse. During a dinner with their vegetarian babysitter, the Foer brothers questioned her refusal to eat chicken, eliciting her commitment to avoiding harm to living beings. This revelation led the author to adopt vegetarianism for a time, though this mindset gradually diminished. He ultimately maintained a facade of vegetarianism at school while secretly consuming meat at home, and this pattern persisted into his college years due to the sheer enjoyment of its taste. Upon meeting his future wife, a shared struggle with vegetarianism emerged, leading to a recurring cycle of attempting and failing to adhere to the lifestyle. However, the birth of Foer's son became a catalyst for change, prompting him to consider the impact of his choices on this young life. The rules instilled by parents during our upbringing, such as avoiding soup for breakfast and distinguishing edible birds from inedible ones, play a significant role in shaping our personalities. Engaging with Eating Animals will provide insight into personal eating habits and familial food culture. The journey delves into the world of animals, exposing unsettling facts about the questionable practices of animal farming. This revelation may likely foster a desire to embrace vegetarianism and contribute to the welfare of animals, a cause now more crucial than ever, requiring human support. Key point 2. Each animal has a personality. Our attitudes toward animals, in turn, are handed down through generations, from parents to children and beyond. In the case of Foer, both his grandmother and mother harbored a fear of dogs, and he internalized this aversion. The mere sight of a dog in the park or a friend's house would trigger anxiety in him, leading him to never envision himself as someone who would one day adopt a dog. However, fate intervened when he encountered George, a future cherished puppy peacefully sleeping on 7th Avenue. Initially hesitant to even feed her, Foer's relationship with George evolved, eventually reaching a point where he allowed the dog to affectionately lick his face. This marked a transformative moment, turning him into a devoted dog lover who found joy in the sight of a wagging tail. Pet owners may observe that their animals possess more than basic needs and instincts. They exhibit distinct personalities, forging a closer connection with humans. Foer recognized that George had her unique perspective on the world and even displayed emotions akin to those of humans. Aligning with his philosophical and practical commitment to vegetarianism, Foer acknowledged that he could not fathom consuming the meat of his own dog or any other. This realization prompted him to question why he and others would consume the meat of certain animals while questioning the acceptance of eating dogs in countries like China and South Korea for medicinal purposes. The complexity of food ethics arises from the intertwining of taste, individual histories, and social narratives, as eloquently expressed by Jonathan Safran Foer. Food ethics are so complex because food is bound to both taste buds and taste, individual biographies, and social histories. Cultural backgrounds play a significant role in shaping a country's culinary choices, but individuals are also influenced by family, environment, societal norms, and ethical considerations. Unfortunately, ethical considerations often take a back seat in shaping our relationship with food. Renowned figures like the 20th century German-speaking writer Kafka underwent transformations in their attitudes toward eating meat, with shame encapsulating Kafka's sentiments. A pivotal moment occurred when Kafka, visiting a Berlin aquarium, spoke to the fish, feeling liberated from guilt as he ceased consuming them. Compunction, arising from a sense of shame, fosters empathy and serves as a reminder of our responsibility toward other beings, preventing us from overlooking the significance of our actions. In Kafka's case, the fish symbolized forgetfulness, as marine creatures are often overshadowed by farm animals in discussions about saving lives. Key point 3. Meat production research. The impetus for delving into meat production research often arises from the probing inquiries of children, whose straightforwardness can elicit discomfort in parents grappling with how to respond. Faced with uncomfortable questions, adults must provide reasonable answers that neither confuse their children nor cast them as morally deficient parents. Children's inquiries, often commencing with the ubiquitous why, can touch upon the intricacies of meat consumption, posing queries such as, why do we eat chicken, but not dogs? In the eyes of a child, the distinction between chicken and dog may seem negligible. They are both sentient beings capable of experiencing pain and presumably harboring a desire not to be consumed. Navigating such questions without casting oneself as callous becomes a paramount concern. Motivated by this parental dilemma, Foer embarked on a quest for comprehensive information, seeking to alleviate shame and cultivate a more empathetic and enlightened perspective in his child. In attempting to elucidate aspects of our culture surrounding the consumption of animals, Foer recognized the necessity of demarcating the line between animals and humans. The challenge lies in deciphering the emotions of animals, relying solely on our human experience to speculate on their perceptions of various situations. For instance, pondering the scenario of leaving a cat alone with ample food and water for a week prompts contemplation about whether the feline will experience loneliness in the absence of its human companion. Improving our treatment of animals necessitates viewing them through a lens that recognizes their intrinsic value akin to human beings, reframing the conventional perspective. The exploration of our food supply chain often invokes the term cruelty, particularly when investigating practices such as bycatch in fishing. The ostensibly accidental entrapment of marine creatures in fishing nets is, in reality, a consequence of deliberate net placement designed to ensnare a greater number of sea dwellers. Shockingly, the pursuit of 1 pound of trawled shrimp results in the sacrifice of 26 pounds of other marine creatures. Regrettably, these 26 pounds are discarded without utilization for sustenance or any other purpose. Contemplating a plate of 5 shrimp, the author was compelled to acknowledge the multitude of lives lost in the process of catching and serving those shrimp. A noteworthy term, bycatch, encapsulates the phenomenon wherein individuals disregard the experiential similarities between animals and humans, underscoring the importance of recognizing and acknowledging these shared aspects. Key point 4. Penetrating the secrets held within a farm. Under the cover of darkness, Jonathan Safran Foer, accompanied by an anonymous animal activist identified as C, surreptitiously entered a turkey farm. Initially, the avian residents appeared content, bathed in the glow of artificial light within the barracks. However, the idyllic facade shattered as Foer observed numerous deceased turkeys strewn alongside the living ones, bearing scars, wounds, and signs of exhaustion. Witnessing C compassionately sever the neck of a dying turkey to spare it further agony, Foer grasped the harsh reality concealed within the seemingly tranquil farm. C, a former worker at a poultry plant responsible for dispatching animals that survived mechanical throat slitting, recounted her initial shock at the deplorable conditions in which chickens existed, confined in cramped cages with no opportunity to roam beyond the barracks. In her eyes, death emerged as a liberating escape from a life marred by torment. The roots of this distressing revelation trace back to the coevolutionary process of domestication, a survival alliance formed between humans and certain animal species. Our ancestors, facing the challenges of a harsh wildlife existence, offered care and safety in exchange for essentials such as milk, eggs, and meat. Initially, this symbiotic relationship allowed animals to live longer under human care than in the unforgiving wilderness. However, as time progressed, this equilibrium was disrupted. The advent of farming, coupled with population growth, spurred a profit-driven shift toward efficient meat production with minimal feed input. This transformation, exemplified by the selective breeding of larger chickens known as broilers, truncated the bird's life cycle from years to a mere 6 weeks. The genetic manipulation of chickens in 1946 resulted in a 65% increase in weight, albeit at the cost of diminished strength, necessitating the administration of drugs to maintain semblances of health. In essence, the diverse tapestry of biodiversity was supplanted by genetic uniformity, reducing animals to mere commodities, stripped of individuality and relegated to the role of food production in the pursuit of cost-effectiveness. The trajectory of growing animals for food mirrors a capitalistic economic system that prioritizes profit over the intrinsic worth of individual personalities, perpetuating a paradigm where animals are commodified for the sake of economic efficiency. Key point 5. The danger of pandemics stemming from farming. The substandard conditions in which chickens are reared by business owners pose a significant threat to their health. Frequently contaminated with bacteria like salmonella and rendered fragile to the point where their bodies struggle to fend off even minor infections, chickens are not afforded the necessary improvements in their treatment. Instead of addressing their well-being, they are subjected to the routine administration of various drugs, particularly antibiotics. While the use of antibiotics would be justified in cases of infection, wherein the medication is administered to combat a disease-afflicted animal, farmers routinely feed antibiotics to chickens prophylactically, giving drugs to animals not yet afflicted by any illness. This practice raises a crucial question: what are the repercussions? Disease prevention is a commendable objective, akin to safeguarding oneself from the cold through the consumption of vitamins and warm tea. However, attempting to forestall viral or bacterial infections through indiscriminate drug use can exacerbate the situation. The rise of drug-resistant bacteria and viruses is a well-documented consequence. When an individual or animal takes medication to combat an illness, most germs succumb to the treatment. However, a resilient few survive and adapt, developing resistance to the drugs previously administered. Consequently, when encountering the same illness again, the same medication becomes ineffective. The challenge lies in the finite ability of scientists to continuously develop new antibiotics, leaving us vulnerable until novel drugs that target germs without harming human organisms are discovered. Even for those who do not directly consume antibiotics as preventive measures when not ill, the consumption of farmed animal meat introduces antibiotics into their system. This poses a widespread threat to millions of people as germs undergo mutations, rendering them impervious to the majority of available medications. A poignant illustration is the H1N1 pandemic, commonly known as the swine flu, which originated from a pig farm in North Carolina in 2009 and 2010. Scientists investigating the outbreak were astounded to find that this strain amalgamated genes from pig, human, and bird viruses, contributing to a year-long pandemic due to the complexity of the pathogen people had to contend with. The use of antibiotics as a preemptive measure against bacteria is not only ineffective, but also raises serious health concerns. Key point 6. Cruelty and commitment to vegetarianism. The process of raising cattle itself is marked by cruelty, as these animals are typically slaughtered when they are merely 1 year old, a stark contrast to the past when farmers cared for them for 4 to 5 years. Temple Grandin, an American scientist, unearthed a disturbing reality about slaughterhouses. She discovered that 1 in 4 of these facilities failed to dispatch every animal with a single blow, subjecting some cows to prolonged suffering until their eventual demise. Such revelations about the treatment of animals in the farming industry spurred Jonathan Safran Foer to embrace a resolute commitment to vegetarianism. Driven by a desire for his son to consume wholesome food, The author delved into research to determine whether vegetarianism constitutes a suitable dietary choice. The findings indicated that a vegetarian diet can be just as nourishing as one that includes meat. Freed from health-related concerns, Foer was able to sever ties with conventional farming practices. Opting for vegetarianism as a means to prevent animals from enduring appalling treatment may appear insufficient, with some questioning the impact of individual dietary choices on a larger scale. However, Foer contends that individuals wield a more significant influence on the world than they realize. The American National Restaurant Association noted a rising demand for vegetarian meals, recommending that all food service establishments incorporate at least one vegetarian option into their menus. This trend indicates that a group, even if it includes just one vegetarian, tends to gravitate toward establishments offering vegetarian fare. Rooted in the freedom of choice, vegetarianism is intricately linked to American history. The United States, once hailed as the land of the free, fostered independence in food supply, developing its own agriculture and sustaining a large population. In contemporary times, the need for freedom extends to choosing what food to avoid. As Jonathan Safran Foer aptly states, food is not so much a symbol of freedom as the first requirement of freedom. The dietary choices of parents wield considerable influence over the eating habits of the entire family. Initiating conversations about food culture from an early age empowers children to make ethical choices in the future. With a growing number of individuals abstaining from meat consumption, there is a heightened likelihood of dismantling unethical and extensive farming practices. It is important to note that vegetarianism does not pose inherent dangers to health. However, individuals contemplating this dietary shift should consult with a physician who can guide them toward a healthy and safe path to abstaining from meat consumption. In conclusion, adopting a vegetarian lifestyle presents a formidable challenge, requiring individuals to break away from food customs entrenched over centuries. It's probable that your family members are accustomed to consuming meat, with traditional dishes like Thanksgiving turkey and barbecue picnic veal being the norm. Transitioning into a person who avoids meat consumption may parallel the struggles of quitting smoking, a process often marked by repeated attempts. Jonathan Safran Foer, much like individuals attempting to quit smoking, experienced fluctuations between vegetarianism and meat consumption over the course of his life. Despite the challenges, the message is clear. It is always better to try than to abandon the endeavor from the outset. Eating animals doesn't explicitly enumerate the benefits of vegetarianism. Instead, it provides a vivid portrayal of the farming culture, serving as a catalyst for contemplating vegetarian alternatives to meat products. The harsh treatment of birds and cattle by modern farmers is difficult to accept, prompting a disheartening realization about the ethics of our food choices. However, as argued by Foer, individuals have the power to effect change. With an increasing number of vegetarians globally, more restaurants and supermarkets are incorporating vegetarian options, signifying a positive shift. If this book has inspired you to consider vegetarianism, don't be daunted by the challenges of adopting new eating habits. Even a reduction in meat consumption contributes to positive change, as the more people distance themselves from meat production, the less viable it becomes. Consider the following. Engage with your family members about their eating habits and attitudes toward food, as this can offer insights into culture and life choices. Introduce more vegetarian options into your diet, such as salads, nuts, fruits, and seeds. Monitor your well-being. Increased energy levels are likely due to the vitamins present in these meals. Visit an animal shelter and inquire about ways to contribute. They often seek assistance with food, hay, building materials, and financial support. Choose an option that aligns with your capacity to aid our furry and feathery companions.